Okay, so today is the final episode of the choir series on this channel, and it's the oldest piece in of the scores that I have. It's from 1962. It's Misa in quarter de tono, I guess. Mass in quarter tones by Julian Carrillo. Um, and this is also our first Carrillo episode, so I do want to get into him and his biography a little bit. But this is a standard Mass, Catholic Mass. I think it was dedicated to one of the popes, whoever was the pope in 1962. Um, and it's a quarter tone piece. So you can see here the way the octave is divided up. He uses this symbol, which is just like a little dash after the note to indicate that it's raised by a quarter tone. And if the dash is angling downward, then it's lowered by a quarter tone, right? So he has here C quarter tone sharp, C sharp, C sharp quarter, C3 quarter tone sharp, D quarter tone sharp, D sharp, D3 quarter tone sharp, E, etc. As opposed to actually changing the sharp or the flat symbol. This symbol, you seemingly have to indicate it every time it happens, but it's separate from the accidentals. So say you already have a C sharp in the measure somewhere, this would raise that C sharp by a quarter tone, right? So it's not an accidental, it's more like a additional symbol. Um, this piece is also for men's chorus. So this is the only men's chorus piece I think that we've looked at in the series, so that's nice. It's got a Kyrie, a Gloria, a Credo, a Sanctus, and I'm assuming an Agnus, that's separate, and no Benedictus, I guess. Yeah, dedicated to Pope John the 13th, born in 1875, died in 1965, so just 3 years after this piece. He was a composer, conductor, violinist, and music theorist, Mexican composer. And he had his own theory of microtonal music. He studied abroad, so he was admitted to Leipzig Royal Conservatory before returning to Mexico. Um, he also presented a paper in 1900 at the International Congress of Music in Paris. There he proposed that each note is one sound. Each note name should be a single syllable, and he proposed 35 monosyllabic names. Then, after his studies at Leipzig, he went to Belgium to continue his violin studies. He composed a string quartet in 1903 at the Ghent Royal Conservatory of Music, and then he returned to Mexico and started teaching. Oh, wait, he returned to Mexico in 1904. Then he fled to the US, which is when he started to come up with his 13th sound theory or his microtonal music theory. That was in New York. And then he returned home in 1918 after that. So, pretty successful career as a conductor, directed two Beethoven festivals in 1920 and 1921. And his 13th sound idea was heavily debated. Uh, and it became his whole thing, I guess, because it was so controversial in Mexico. Then he received some microtonal commissions, and I guess the rest is history. Yeah, this piece is from his last years, so this paragraph might be relevant. In 1960, he composed his canton atonal, 64 voces, atonal canon for 64 voices, and also this Mass for Pope John the 13th. I guess it wasn't published until 2 years later. And then he also wrote Bulbacheos, which was a piece for piano in 16th tones and orchestra. So yeah, really illustrious career, successful guy. He has a statue dedicated to him. It looks pretty intense, very imposing, and he also has pretty sizable tombstone. Um, yeah, I think he lived a pretty long life considering like 1875, that is very old. It was a very long time ago when he started studying music. So it's almost like a window into a different world, like yes, he did compose this piece in the 60s, but his life spans a really interesting period in classical music, so especially in Mexico. So with that, I will direct you to a recording in the video description. That's what I'm listening to today. This music isn't very well performed, so the performance might not be of the best quality, but it'll get the job done. Um, let's get into this piece, start exploring it. Uh, nice to round off the series with some quarter tone music. Okay, so hopefully you listened along or intend to listen along. Um, it's a 40-minute recording, so I think it's probably a bit under tempo. Um, there isn't really any specific tempo indications in the score. It's kind of just like some stuff is fast, some stuff is slow. I think you see largo, lento, animated, things like that as indications. And their tuning is pretty out of whack, but I actually didn't mind the faster stuff. It was just in the slower sections where it was really obvious that they were struggling with the quarter tone stuff. So yeah, my favorite moments were actually the faster moments, like the Benedictus was pretty metal, and I really liked the Credo overall. But that could just be because of the performance. It might not speak to the composition so much. Um, yeah, it's a fascinating little piece. It made me like curious about this system. So I pulled up the 13th sound wiki here. So yeah, this is Carrillo's microtonal music theory. Dates all the way back to 1900. Basically, he's just like he just has this notation system he's developed, which encourages performers to explore these notes in between notes of the 12 equally tempered scale, right? So he doesn't really refer to them as quarter tones because they could be tempered in other ways, the same way that the 12 notes of the chromatic scale can be tempered in different ways. And it's mostly something he explored through his violin, so something which has who doesn't like a violin doesn't really have frets, right? So it's more, I guess, a vocal thing, I think it's pretty exemplified in this piece. But anyways, his first composition with this style was from 1922. So that really predates Parch's Genesis of the Music, like by about 30 years almost, 20 something years. So yeah, this stuff, he was starting to formalize this stuff very early. Um, and I think it's kind of fascinating that it didn't really take shape until he was in America. But he was interested in it certainly while studying in Europe as well. Um, I just thought that was, yeah, because the style of this piece actually has a lot of chordal harmonies. It kind of reminds me of like American composers of the time, maybe like Copland. Um, and he uses the quarter tone scale a lot, so you have a lot of scalar motion with quarter tones. which I think makes this pretty accessible. It kind of reminds me of the popularity of Angine de Poitrine, that prog metal band that's using quarter tone instruments, and how their riffs always just have little scalar things. So yeah, maybe it would be worth transcribing some Angine de Poitrine with his system. Maybe that would make more sense than using quarter tone accidentals. Just a thought. I guess there's that other pop act that was on John Zorn's label. I think they're called Zizzagees. That they also do a lot of that, but with like instruments. Um, so that's what this kind of quarter tone use reminded me of. I can't think of a lot of classical examples, but I can definitely think of some pop examples. So um, yeah, I think that you could find singers that could do a much better job of recording this piece. I think it's deserving of a better recording. Um, but yeah, that wraps up the series. I think I'm just gonna close off, my thoughts on the choir series. Like, it's not really an area of new music that I know a lot about. I think a lot of these pieces are good. I did pad the series with some more chamber vocal pieces. Um, The newest piece was only from 2012, so I think it was definitely lacking in some more new stuff. I'm sure there's lots of more innovative things going on in choir rep right now, but this was the little chunk of history that I had with my scores. But now we can move on, having thoroughly explored those vocal scores. I think I already removed choir from the list, so we should just spin it here. Um, yeah, lots of solo instruments still up on the board. Oh, okay. Trumpet and piano. This one I need to make sure I have enough scores, but I probably do. Enough scores with recordings, I should say. Okay, so of the six scores, I think I have three. So we're just gonna do a very short series. I think three's the minimum I set for myself, of trumpet and piano pieces.